What a game. What a game from my, yes, possessive pronouns here, my Seattle Seahawks. I've been a Seahawks fan really since about 2002, since second grade. And I've seen a lot from this franchise, most of which has been pretty bad. At least growing up, it was pretty bad. Obviously, post high school has been the best time. The last 10 years really has been the best time. And this season, this trip to the Super Bowl has felt so bizarre. And I don't know exactly why. I was thinking about this last night because it doesn't feel real. And I think there was so much anticipation with the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll and Marshawn Lynch. And there were eyes on this program and there was expectations for this organization that when they were making those runs in the mid 2000 teens, it felt normal and natural and expected. And this season has been anything but. The Seahawks were not on anyone's radar, and it's just felt like a bit of a shock. And so I was kind of reflecting on that last night, and it's almost like I didn't get my hopes up for anything until like halfway through that game. And I was like, oh my goodness, we might go to the Super Bowl. And then I just felt this overwhelming amount of stress as I was watching this team give up points is really what I want to talk about first. I felt like the Rams had solved this defense about halfway through the game, and I was tempted to throw it all away. I was tempted to just to give up hope because the backbone of this team has been the defense, especially in the two playoff games that they are, I guess, really towards the end of the season, and then the one playoff game that they have. And then last night, coming into this game, it was going to be, can the defense stop this number one offense? And when the number one offense figured out this team and this defense and led two drives of long yardages down to score, I thought it was done. And I was overwhelmed. I was stressed. And it's weird playing with a lead because in those early Seahawks days when there was like conversations of a dynasty, Russell Wilson and Legion of Boom era, we never played with a lead. It was neck and neck. Typically we were trailing, and it had to be this fourth quarter magic. And there's a different level of anxiety when you're playing up in the game and you're watching your defense, who has been like I said, the backbone of this team, struggle. I said before this game, if we get off to a lead, it's better. I don't think we can play from behind. I don't think if the defense is struggling early, it's going to be over for Seattle. And we got off to a lead, but then the defense was struggling, and I was like, no, this is not how this is supposed to go. So I think one of the turning points in this game that I want to sort of discuss as it relates to the NFL as a whole was when Tariq Woolen on about 3rd and 12 made one of the better defensive plays of the game. They had it in Seahawks territory, barely over the 50-yard line. And on 3rd and 12, Tariq Woolen kind of broke up a pass, almost intercepted it. Kind of dove, it hit his hands, he dropped it, but it brought up 4th and 12. And you see Tariq Woolen sort of walking on, because the play ended over by the Rams sideline. You see him kind of walking towards the Rams sideline, and he's kind of talking and jawing. And he says a few things to a couple people as kind of the play is wrapping up. And, the special teams is coming off. Matthew Stafford goes back, and you see him kind of get, not in Matthew Stafford's face, but he looks at Matthew Stafford. Stafford says something to him. He says something to him. They kind of go back and forth. And then you see this flag fly. And taunting, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. Would have been 4th and 12. The Seahawks were up 11 at this point. It was later in the third. Like, this was a pivotal play. You make the Rams punt there. Seattle gets the ball back up double digits. They extend one long drive to put points on the board, and the game is effectively over. And I watched that, and like, obviously, I'm going to admit I'm biased. I'm as biased as they come. I bleed blue and green. My take is going to be in that vein. So understand it. I didn't love the call. I didn't love the call because the refs had been staying out of it for the most part, letting them play. I think that's great for the magnitude of the game. You hate to have something that doesn't really hurt anyone or hurt the game or change the dynamic of when the play clock is rolling, you hate to throw in a 15-yard penalty on sort of a subjective ticky-tack call like that. You have to think, again, of the magnitude of the moment. This is a trip to the Super Bowl. It's late in the game. That was a big stop. And all Tariq Woolen is doing is just doing what these players do all the time, which is talk and jab and jaw. I don't know what was said. I don't know if it had to do with something specifically that he said, but it was just the fact that he was doing that. And I get that by the book, it's probably the correct call. I just think that this isn't like a week 4 divisional game. They're trying to set the tone for the season. They're trying to establish that this is the NFC Championship game. So they get an automatic first down, which I didn't love. And then the very next play, shout out to Sean McVay, shout out to the Rams team. They attack Tariq Woolen the very next play and score a 45-yard touchdown pass where Tariq Woolen blew the coverage on Puka Nacua. And I said, that's it. I said, that's it. We just missed our chance to go to the Super Bowl because of Tariq Woolen's actions, maybe, but more so because the ref felt it necessary to draw a line at a point where I didn't think the line really needed to be drawn, especially since there wasn't a ton of chippiness in the game prior. Like, there wasn't a ton of in each other's faces. Like, there wasn't a tone that needed to be set in that moment, I didn't feel like. But again, I'm going to just admit that I'm totally biased. I felt like it was a soft call. Next play, they target him, touchdown. So I thought that was it. And I can't remember exactly what happened. I think Seattle goes 3 and out the very next time. And you just see the camera kind of panning to the Seahawks sidelines. And you see Nicky Manwari, who's this just absolutely unbelievably skilled rookie that I think is going to be quite a player in the league. He was injured for a little bit this season, so the league didn't quite see what he was capable of. And if you haven't watched the Seahawks the last 4 or 5 games, you may not even know who this guy is, but he's becoming a very, very distinguished player and leader on this team, and you can see him kind of being separated from Tariq Woolen on the sideline, and you can tell he's mad at what just transpired in the last 2 plays, and you see Tariq Woolen kind of like frustrated, obviously, at himself, but probably just the moment. And I was like, oh no, like the backbone of this team has just been fractured. We have spinal bifida. Is that a thing? Spinal bifida. I'm making like a backbone rep. Our backbone is hurt. And the Rams get the ball back and they drive down and either they convert a 4th and 1 with Matthew Stafford scrambling, which how often does that happen? And ultimately, the Seahawks defense comes together and makes a 4th and goal from the 4-yard line. They make a stand and they stop them. And then Seattle puts up a little bit of a drive in the next one. And that was a huge moment in that game. Just an absolute massive moment to have all those emotions and be able to make the play when it counted most. On the next drive, there was a little bit of drama with the Cooper Kupp catch, and people are saying, I'm seeing online now, that he didn't make the catch. I was a little disappointed also that there seemed to be a little bit of a missed call with Rashid Shaheed on the sideline on 2nd down, I think it was. Would have picked up a first down where he's like got his toes in, he's reaching over, and he gets shoved well before the ball gets there. And I would show you these, but every time I show actual footage of the NFL, the video gets flagged, and I don't want that. But you can find it. And it just reminds me that I just really wish that there would be, I know we had a time where we could challenge pass interference and it wasn't successful and yada, 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 and the teams didn't love it. But I just wish there was more built in that could protect points in the game that are massive and matter, and that when we have video evidence and 60 camera angles, that we can say, wait a minute, like that was pass interference. Let's stop the game. Let's get that call right, because that's a massive point of the game. And it didn't end up mattering, and that's great, and I'm thankful for that. But it's like things like that I hate the refs being able to influence the game incorrectly. And then I hate that we as fans have to sit back and see it was incorrect. And I'm not talking like the Brandon Cooks play. Like there's a little bit of inconsistency and debate in that. I'm talking about clear and obvious calls that are not called. So Seattle goes on to do the drives when they need to. Shout out to Sam Darnold, who I didn't know what to expect, and I wanted to believe in him because Clint Kubiak has had success with the quarterback position in recent years with Kirk Cousins and with Brock Purdy, and I was hoping the same could be said about Sam Darnold. I wasn't sure, even if they go on to lose the Super Bowl, I think this is a feather in the cap of Sam Darnold and for what he was able to do for this team, especially last night against a team that he had thrown 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in the 2 games they played this year. To come out, throw 3 touchdowns, no picks in the biggest game of his career, with all the pressure, with all the hate that he's had on, ESPN and just talking heads say he doesn't have what it takes, to show them that he does have what it takes, I think is a beautiful moment. So I am overjoyed. I'm not getting excited yet. One more game. Like I said, it just feels like it's not real. There's an element of like shock, and I didn't have any expectation going into this season. I thought it'd be great if we won double-digit games, 10 games, made a wild card, and see what happens. And bigger things happened. And again, I'm thankful for that. So, if you guys want to help me out here, hit that subscribe button as we continue to grow this non-gambling, sports-only channel where I just reflect on things that are occurring, give my takes on them. That would help me out considerably. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Bless up. Love you. Kiss somebody today on the lips if you want. I don't know.